Hi, all. My name is Olivia Laparolari. I'm on the City Hall communications team. I think on behalf of everyone seated here today, we are so happy to have you all here with us today down at City Hall to talk about pre-K and 3K. We are joined today by Emmy Liss, who's the Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Childcare, Simone Hawkins, who's the Deputy Chancellor for Early Childhood, as well as Trevonda Kelly, Chief of Student Enrollment at New York City Public Schools, and of course the Mayor. But before we start the program, we want to go through the run of show. You'll hear first from the Mayor, and then Emmy, Simone, and Trevonda in that order. Then the Mayor will share some testimonials from parents before we open up Q&A. This Q&A will be on 3K and pre-K registration and childcare only. We just also ask that you only ask one question at a time so we can hear you and respond and get to as many people as possible. So with that, I'll pass it over to the Mayor.
Thank you very much. Thank you all so much for being here. It is lovely to be here this afternoon with all of you. So 5 weeks, 35 days, 840 hours, 50,400 minutes. This is not how to measure a year in the life. This is, in fact, how to measure the time until the application window for 3K and pre-K closes for New Yorkers. So we are here together today to get the word out to as many New Yorkers as possible before this window closes. Because while we have taken historic steps towards delivering universal childcare to each and every family that calls New York City home, New Yorkers with children turning 3 and 4 this year do not need to wait to sign up for the childcare that is already available to them. So these are not just resources that are accessible to New Yorkers. They are instead rather vital services that belong to New Yorkers. And the first step is ensuring that New Yorkers know about them and how to sign up for them. And these resources that we speak of are ones that truly could genuinely transform the lives of not just New York's families, but also their children, and for our city as a whole. And I say that because we know that children who receive a good early childhood education enjoy better outcomes later in life. We know that when children have high-quality childcare, their parents can return to the careers that they love. We know that when New York's parents are reintegrated into our workforce, that our economy hums with the hard work of parents who otherwise would have had to stay home. And we know that when it comes to applying, there is only upside for New York's families. So here are the details. If you have a child turning 3 or 4 anytime in 2026, there are several ways for you to apply. The first is you can go online to myschools.nyc. The second is you can call 718-935-2009. And the third is when you call that number or go to that website, you can also look for the locations of the 11 different family welcome centers across the 5 boroughs where you could go in person to receive support. Now, there are trusted community partners and childcare providers who can also help families apply. And I know that this matters especially for parents who may not be as connected to local government or may not see it as an entity that they should trust or engage with, but instead find that in community-based organizations that they know very well. And I want to make very clear, whether you applied on the first day or you apply on the last day, any family that applies by the deadline will receive an offer. This is not a first-come, first-serve kind of program. And I also want to speak to New Yorkers who do not typically trust the idea that government will deliver for them. And frankly, it's because for far too long, government has not delivered for them. I speak of immigrant New Yorkers. I speak of New Yorkers for whom English may not be their first language, New Yorkers who live in neighborhoods that historically have not felt the presence of government programs and support such as these ones. And I want to encourage those New Yorkers to apply and to take advantage of these incredible resources for you and for your children, because these are resources for every New Yorker, and you are just as New York as anyone else in this city. And to all of you in this room, I will also share that while city government has been and will continue to use every single tool at its disposal, we also know that you are the ones who many New Yorkers most listen to. Your community and ethnic media outlets are the sources of information that so many of these New Yorkers turn to. You are where countless New Yorkers will look not only for an opportunity to remain connected to their communities, but frankly to also understand the city that they live in and the city that they call home. So not only do I want to urge you to emphasize the urgency of this deadline, the prospect that it has to save New Yorkers tens of thousands of dollars a year by providing them with free childcare. I also want to encourage New Yorkers to speak directly to their families, to their friends, and to their neighbors to help them apply. Because New Yorkers listen most to other New Yorkers. So to the people of the city, if you know that there is a parent who might not typically watch the news or tune into a press conference like this one, or who isn't fluent in English perhaps, I humbly ask you to carry this message to them and to emphasize how meaningful this program can be. This application that I've spoken of, whether you engage with it online or whether you find it in person or over the phone, I will tell you that when it comes to the website, it is available in 13 different languages. It's available in English, in Albanian, in Arabic, in Bangla, in Chinese, in Haitian Creole, in French, in Korean, in Russian, Spanish, Ukrainian, Urdu, and Uzbek. And in addition, interpretation in more than 200 languages is available via phone at 718-935-2009 and at our more than 10 different family welcome centers. So this is frankly how New Yorkers look out for one another, how we look out for the next generation to come, and how we truly make this a city government that makes it easier to afford to live in the most expensive city in the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Up next, we have Emmy Liss, who's the Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Childcare.
Thank you so much. It's great to be with you all this afternoon. As Olivia said, my name is Emmy Liss. I'm the Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Childcare. And in this role, it is my honor and privilege and responsibility to make sure that we deliver on the vision that the mayor outlined, a city where every family has access to free, high-quality, accessible childcare that is culturally responsive, delivered in the settings that they trust, with educators who are respected and well paid and who care for those children just like their own. We have this opportunity right now, as the mayor said, to make sure that every family in the city with a 3 or 4-year-old gets out and applies for these programs for this fall. And as the parent of a current public school pre-K student, I know just how important these programs are in the lives of families and what an opportunity it can be, not just for the child who will build new skills, make new friends, and go on to develop in ways that impact them for the rest of their lives, but what this also means for our families and our communities. So with that, I will pass it to my colleagues down the table as well. With apologies, I will step out a few minutes before we end, but I promise it is for good reason. I have a group of early childhood educators who are coming to meet with me at the end of their long day to share their thoughts and visions about what our system should look like. But it's a pleasure to be with you all for the next bit. I'll pass it down to Deputy Chancellor Simone Hawkins.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be around this square table with you all today. First and foremost, I'm a mom, recently undergone a different admissions process for high school. But as Deputy Chancellor, very happy to sit beside the mayor and his team to really communicate the importance of participating in this open admission cycle. I think the mayor made it very clear about the importance of early childhood education, no matter the setting. Families know that when you have an early start, it allows for early identification and early intervention. And so here in New York City Public Schools, we encourage every family, right? As you are thinking about signing up for care for the upcoming fall, look to us as partners in this work. We want to ensure that we curate an experience for you that meets the cultural responsiveness of your families. And we welcome you. We welcome you to New York City Public Schools in the upcoming fall.
Hello, everyone. My name is Travanda Kelly. I am the Chief Enrollment Officer at New York City Public Schools. I've been working with New York City Public Schools within student enrollment for 15 years. So I have a lot of experience with supporting families with applications such as 3K and pre-K. My office, our goal is to make sure that the process for applying for 3K and pre-K, along with other processes, we are not just limited to 3K and pre-K. As Deputy Hawkins said, we support with high school, middle school, 3K, pre-K, we also do G&T. We provide a lot of support with all of the admissions processes, and we want to make sure that it is seamless as possible. We want to make sure that families are able to apply without getting stuck. And so therefore, we do have the online application portal, which is My Schools, which families can, and we do encourage to do online because we try to make that process as simple as possible. But at the same time, we also provide support for families over the phone at our call center. they are able to walk you through the process, but also to provide information on the programs as well. And lastly, our family welcome centers, which are across the city. We provide a lot of support. We just introduced an update to the webpage where families can get some of that information, again, much easier and simple, and they can get all of the information that they need so that they could apply. Good to meet you all.
Okay, great. Next, the mayor is going to share some testimonials from parents.
So this is the first testimonial is from Stephanie Park, who lives in Park Slope. She says, I'm a mother of 3 kids under the age of 5. 3K and pre-K have made it possible for my husband and I to raise our family in the city we love. Pre-K and 3K will have saved my family over $200,000 by the time my youngest is in school. This will help us work towards paying off student loans, saving for our kids' college education, and putting a down payment down for a home. We love 3K and pre-K. The second is from Runa Ray in Jackson Heights. We have 3 kids under 6, and 3K and pre-K have been life-saving for us. Before 3K, we relied on a patchwork of care between family, friends, and neighbors. We're so grateful for it, but it was a really fragile system that stretched us all thin. When our oldest daughter got a 3K seat, it was a dream come true. She had the chance to socialize with kids her age and eat healthy meals. The teachers in the school community were so great. Currently, our second kid is in 3K, and we're filling out a 3K application for our third kid. We are all in on 3K and pre-K in this house. The third and final is from Edgar Alfonseca in Forest Hills. 3K really changed my family's life. It saved us thousands of dollars, and we really appreciate having a much shorter commute to school. That little bit of extra time we have to spend as a family in the morning before my spouse and I have to go to work means a lot to us. More importantly, we're just glad our son has gotten to learn important classroom skills at such an early age. We feel like the academic setting has already put him on track to great success when he enrolls in kindergarten at his local NYC public school a few years from now.
Thank you. So now we're going to open it up to Q&A on 3K and pre-K registration, as well as childcare. I just ask again that we ask one question at a time, so we can get to as many people as possible. There are also a couple of handheld mics around, so please feel free to use those. And I will start with Abu from Time Television.
Hi, ma'am. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum, how are you, Avatar?
Thank you so much. I think this is the first program with ethnic reporters and editors and medias. So thank you for that. And my question is about the program you just described, which is, as you know, the ICE, they are having parade and operation all over the city. They increase their operation since few days, and people are kind of scared. So as you starting the program, what is the safety and security of the parents who are going to the center and dropping the kids, and when they're coming, if they're rounded up by the ICE, what is your message to them? How you are going to ensure their safety and security? And then she mentioned about the cultural sensitivity. Just related with this, cultural sensitivity in food. How we are going to make sure that the Muslims, Jews, and others, they will be there, and they have a food sensitivity as well, like halal and kosher. So if you can just specify this.
I think we've made important strides on halal and kosher meals, and I think that is work that needs to continue to be done. And I also know that we are less than a month away from the beginning of Ramadan, and so these are issues that will only continue to come to the fore. I'll say to your first question that, just to put it very clearly, these are programs for every single New Yorker. These are not programs that are going to ask the immigration status of any one of the children. All of those children are New Yorkers. They should all be enrolled in pre-K and 3K, no matter where they were born or where they come from. And we are also proud to be a sanctuary city. What a sanctuary city means is that we have policies in place, policies that have existed for years in this city, that deny ICE agents access into schools, hospitals, city properties, or even the properties of city contractors, unless those ICE agents can present a judicial warrant signed by a judge. We know that the vast majority of the time, ICE agents are not presenting that kind of documentation. If they're presenting any documentation, it tends to be an administrative warrant, and oftentimes there isn't any documentation even provided. So we want to make clear the rights of every New Yorker that they have in the city, these programs being available to all, and the fact that we are proud of our values, we are proud of our laws, they keep us safe, and they are also part and parcel of who we are.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, before we take the next question, I'll remind folks again kindly, one question at a time, please, so we can get to as many people as possible. And Manzoor, you want to go next?
Thank you very much for having all of us and also fulfilling your great initiative. You talk about this initiative during your campaign. My question is, it's a very high quality childcare program, so which you already mentioned during the campaign. So how this program will affect the communities of color, and can you define what is pre-K, and for our viewers who have language barrier, what is pre-K and 3K, and what kind of resources are you going to spend to send this message across the board?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So I really appreciate this question, because I think oftentimes in government, we become married to the language of government, and we get divorced from the reality of New Yorkers outside of government. So to put it very simply, this is childcare for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. This is childcare that we are delivering to every single family that applies for it, and it is free. And this is part of the $1.2 billion we secured from the state in funding, goes towards fixing these programs. In the prior year, there was an allocation of about $5 million in funding for the outreach work of New York City Public Schools. So New York City Public Schools is currently utilizing that previously allocated funding. We are talking about funding that can have outreach teams, funding that can have posters on sidewalks or in a barbershop, funding that will ensure that New Yorkers are hearing this again and again and again until February 27th, because that is the deadline to sign up. And we want them to know that this is a program for them. It's a program they deserve. It's a program that belongs to the city that they call home. They should sign up for it. I mean, I don't know if you'd add or if you'd feel free.
I think I would just add, particularly to your question about what does this look like for families? I think that we would encourage families who may not be sure what an early childhood program looks like to go out and visit the programs in their community. We also have resources through the My Schools website and for families who want to talk with program leaders directly and get a better sense of what it might look like. Children in New York City's early childhood programs have an opportunity to learn through play and to grow and develop, which we know builds really strong, important social emotional skills and helps them get ready for elementary school and beyond. We also offer many programs that have instruction in language other than English for children who speak another language at home and want the opportunity, their families want the opportunity for them to learn both in English and in their native language. It's also a wonderful way for families who maybe don't speak that language at home but want to reconnect with a family heritage or have an opportunity to build connections with their neighbors in other cultural communities. And we offer early childhood programs in a range of different settings inside public schools, but also in community-based programs and with home-based providers, many of whom speak another language themselves and may offer a setting that for families who are looking for something that looks and feels familiar to them, that may reflect that as well.
Thank you. Yes, from Korea Daily, New York. Could you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Ji Yoon, and I'm from Korea Daily, New York. And thank you for offering this opportunity. And I have a question about waitlist. So, during the interview with people, families often tell us they apply but are ultimately placed on waitlist or receive no placement. So, what steps is the city taking this year to reduce waitlist and increase successful placement?
Yeah, if you want to jump in, Shavonda.
Sure. Thank you for your question about waitlists, because I think that sometimes families are often confused. And so we would love to clear that up. So waitlist is a mechanism for families to get closer to or their actual most preferred choice. As we all know, whenever you're applying, we're asking for families to rank their choices, and if they don't get their first or top choice, they are automatically added to the wait list for their top choices. So for an example, if you got an offer to your fourth choice, we would assume that you would still want, if possible, to get your third, second, and first choice if a seat became available. So therefore, you are added to the wait list for that. Because you are on a wait list, it does not mean that you don't have an offer. And I think sometimes families are confused, or sometimes when families are saying that they're on the wait list, other folks are confused and think that that meant that they didn't have an offer. As the mayor has mentioned before at the top of this conversation, if you apply by the deadline, you will get a seat. So we will try to, of course, give you your most preferred choice, but if you don't, then you would be added on the wait list. And we think that that's just the best way for us to continue to monitor and for you to monitor, because you could actually see in my schools your position on the wait list, which will change. As families get their offer, then you move up in the wait list. And so we believe that that transparency also helps for you to know if you're going to get your choice or not. And the wait list is open until the middle of September. I don't have the date right now. Sorry. And I think that that is something that we're still trying to figure out. So that is one thing. And the other question, just to emphasize, if you apply by the deadline, which is February 27th, and we encourage every family to apply, you will get an offer.
I would just add as well, and I think the mayor has reflected this, but we are adding additional capacity this year, looking at neighborhoods where maybe families did get an offer last year, but it was just too far from home. And so we will be adding additional 3K spots across the city to ensure that families get an option that works for them.
Mariama?
How you guys doing? I had a question about enrollment as well. So when I looked up the statistics, Black and Latino parents have like a pretty sharp drop off when it comes to enrollment rates. And they surveyed if there was interest, and apparently that's not really a factor in how they fill out their applications. For some reason, there's a gap between the application and the enrollment for Black and Latino parents. And my question is, how do you improve the lottery system to make sure that they're, one, filling out the whole application or getting a chance to fill it out all the way, and then they're getting a seat that they actually want, because apparently location is a big factor when you get it off.
I think I'll just add a few things here. When we secured on January 8th the $1.2 billion commitment from the governor and the state to deliver universal childcare, a significant portion of that was towards delivering childcare for 2-year-olds in a manner that has never been done before in our city. However, we should not lose sight of the fact that, as Emmy had mentioned, there is a portion of that funds that is dedicated to fixing the issues of childcare for 3-year-olds and for 4-year-olds. And some of it is what has just been referred to right now, the need to increase capacity, the need to, and by doing so, to increase our ability to meet the needs of New Yorkers. Because if New Yorkers are not choosing to opt into the system, it's a reflection of inadequacies in the system itself. And so that's what we are working to rectify. I think the other aspect of this is we do not believe that we have exhausted every tool at our disposal to communicate to New Yorkers about this kind of a program. I think even just to Manzoor's question, so much of the language that is often used to talk about these programs, most New Yorkers might not instinctively understand it because it's not language of how we describe it ourselves in our own lives. So what we are looking at for these next, little more than a month is every single possibility we have to what we call now GOTC, get out the childcare. Right? In elections, you talk about GOTV, get out the vote. Now it's GOTC, get out the childcare. Because we want every New Yorker to know about this program. And frankly, the value of a program, you cannot even assess it if New Yorkers do not know of the program. And this is one that's meant to serve them.
Yes, I'm sorry. Could you introduce yourself too?
Okay.
Some immigrant families afraid to apply due to concerns about sharing personal information. How do you assure them that their data is safe? And what documents they have to, to offer when they apply for their child?
Sure. I'll start, and then I'll look to Trevanda to add in more detail. But as the mayor said, 3K and pre-K are open to all children, and we will not ask them to provide sensitive information like their immigration status to participate in our 3K and pre-K program. And I'll turn to Trevanda to talk about how we keep family information safe. But to enroll a child, and particularly just to fill out the application, your child just has to be turning 3 or 4 this year, and you have to provide a New York City address. That's it.
And just to add, there's a registration period once you get an offer. And so that is the programs, you work with the programs. But in terms of what the documents are, I don't believe that they hold on to documents that aren't needed. And I don't want to speak too much for programs because I know it varies based on schools and the actual physical schools that we have, but also the programs in terms of the rules. But I do know that there are flexibility when it comes to handling documentation at the registration process.
Thank you. Edwin?
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Edwin, how are you?
Edwin Martinez from El Diario.
Yes.
Yes, basically, when I hear you, I just want to make sure that I understood well in order to communicate to
Please.
our readers. So when you mentioned that everyone in New York City, like 3K and 4K, they are going to receive free child care, it means not only a seat in the schools, it means also after schools, or only in the schools in the period of time that the children go and attend to a school.
This is the second. This is they are signing up for a program that they would drop their child off at. That's the period that we're talking
from
about.
one time to what time?
So the city offers a mix of different programs. Most of our 3K and pre-K programs run the same schedule as a school day. So just like kindergarten or any grade beyond, many of those programs do offer an option for after school for children who would like to stay. We do also have programs in the city that run for a full working day for 3K and pre-K. Some of them may have additional eligibility criteria so that we can make sure those programs are serving, for example, children with the greatest economic need. But there are a mix of different program options, and families can explore all of them on My Schools or by calling the number or visiting a family welcome center, and they can search and filter by program schedules and offerings.
Okay, now my question, I understood now. So what is the city going to do in order to improve or to add more after-school programs for those children, in order for parents to be able to go to work from 7 to 5 p.m. and not at 2 p.m. saying, what can I do with my child?
This continues to be the work. And what I'll tell you is that our goal is to deliver childcare, we talked about, for children from the ages of 6 weeks to 5 years. And so in our first year, we are not only fixing the existing programs for 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds and above, but also now we are starting to introduce for 2-year-olds. By the end of the first term, we will have delivered universal childcare for every 2-year-old in New York City. Then terms after that, the term after that would be where we would fulfill our promise to New Yorkers of going for 1-year-olds and those under that age. I say all this to say that this is part of a vision that we have for childcare. After school is also a very critical thing for New Yorkers. And when we are looking to take steps forward in this kind of an agenda, it is also looking to meet the needs of these New Yorkers. So I think Emmy mentioned there are a few programs that we have in practice right now that can meet those longer days. We will continue to work to increase the availability of that. The focus right now is first to start with these childcare programs across the city, then extend them to children as young as all 2-year-olds by the end of the first term. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Could you introduce yourself? I'm sorry, I can't read your name tag from here.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. My name is Haye Lee from K Radio. Hopefully you feel comfy at your Grace Mansion now and no ghost yet.
No ghost as yet.
Okay, great. So the free education is your key promise. And some people said it is not possible, but I knew it's possible because South Korea, from the birth to high school, all the education, all the child care, all the meal plan, and all the immunization is free for all. So I knew it's possible. So I'm really expecting you are spreading out and expanding the age to the newborn baby and 1K as well. And But Governor Hochul said expressed opposition to raise the tax. So I want to know how to you get secured sustainable the funding, and also is your final goal is expanding all age from the newborn baby and 1K in your administration?
The final goal is to fulfill our commitment about providing childcare from children as young as 6 weeks above to 5 years. And we've laid out the timeline where we begin with not only fixing childcare for 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, but frankly, for starting to deliver it for 2-year-olds by the end of the first year, by the end of the first term, every 2-year-old. And then in the second term, that would be when we would extend that to children younger than that, all the way down to 6 weeks. And I'm very, frankly, excited by the partnership we have built with Governor Hochul and with the state. In $1.2 billion being delivered on day 8 of our administration, we showed that we were able to not just start to fix the problems that have kept New Yorkers from signing their children up for this program, but started to develop an entirely new program that they'd never seen before in our city. And a lot of that comes from the fact that if we don't do this, New Yorkers will leave New York City. They will leave New York City if they have kids now. They will leave New York City if they want to have kids because they can't afford to raise those kids here. I mean, what we are talking about is a $26,000 a year expense if they're lucky. There are some New Yorkers paying $40,000 a year for childcare. It is an unbelievable expense that is pushing people out of the city. And we want to keep them here. And we want to say that we have a role to play in that. And I was also heartened, frankly, by when Governor Hochul, when she and I announced this together on stage in Brooklyn, she said that this was a commitment for the long haul. She said that a number of times, that the funding we've received is for 2 years, the commitment extends beyond that. And she was able to do that, in this case, with existing state revenue. And I think we are very excited because we know that once we start to deliver childcare for 2-year-olds, families will see what a difference this makes in their own lives. And I'm very lucky to be here with 2 incredible public servants who have been doing this work of demystifying the process, connecting New Yorkers to the process, even just the answer on wait lists. You know, it just shows the expertise that's needed to make this as broadly accessible as possible.
Deborah Lee.
Hi.
It's wonderful to be here, Mr. Mayor. And it's lovely to see you as well. You're back. So Deborah Lee Santos from the Manhattan Times and the Bronx Free Press. And delighted to be here with the colleagues that do this work. So, you know, the concern here obviously is that it's a sprint. You've got to get this in, we've all got to get this information out to families that are wanting this kind of programming. The timing sucks with Liam Ramos, a 5-year-old, being detained and that having that searing image, I think, put into sharp focus for many families who are trying to figure out what to do and how to do it. And as you pointed out before, government can meet that need, but they're concerned. Particularly in immigrant communities, and I think we all represent a fair, sizable population of such residents who are saying to themselves, what exactly am I getting myself into? So I appreciate that we're all here engaged in that work, but I'm wondering if you could speak specifically to that concern.
Absolutely.
And what resources we can dedicate to that. And finally, what happens after February 27th when in fact, because they haven't been able to make that commitment, because they haven't been able to get there, it just didn't happen. What happens after?
So I'll let you answer that second question.
Sure.
I'll go into the
Sure.
first.
Back to waitlists, because that is an opportunity for, again, families to show that they have interest in the programs even after the application process. So we don't stop at February 27th. Families are able to continue to add themselves to the waitlist. And for programs that have available seats, and we're happy and excited that there will be more seats added to more programs, we would hope that they will even get program or offers to those programs on through the waitlist process. So it does not end on the 27th. We continue to support families through the waitlist process, and they can continue to get offers throughout the rest of the school year, but also through the summer.
But we still encourage them
to apply
by the 27th.
By the 27th.
And
But we do want to be supportive.
Yes. Yes.
That's right.
Something around that.
And I think to your first question, you know, I am an immigrant myself in a city where more than 3 million New Yorkers are immigrants. I got my citizenship in this city. I have seen with my own eyes the transformation of the very sites of the American dream into sites of the American nightmare. 26 Federal Plaza is where New Yorkers had gone for years for their citizenship interviews, for their routine immigration check-ins, and now the vast majority, for so many, that is a building that represents a place where they may be detained or they may be deported. And I want to be very clear that we are proud to be an immigrant city. We are proud of the incredible tapestry that is New York, the beautiful mosaic, as David Dinkins would speak about. And this is one example of a city program that we are encouraging everyone to apply to see themselves as a part of, and to know that we are going to use every single law that we have here to protect the health and safety of everyone who signs up. And the other part of this is that there are many New Yorkers who for far too long have not been informed of their rights. We have rights in this city, especially as it pertains to our sanctuary city policies. These are rights that I will take every opportunity to share with New Yorkers, because it's just like, if you don't know about universal childcare, if you don't know about 3K or pre-K, then you'll never apply to it. If you don't know about your rights, then you'll never use them. So our job is also to share these rights with New Yorkers. And I'll tell you that the impact in our education system of this fear that has taken hold over the last few years, it can literally look like a decline in attendance rates at schools. What it can also look like is a permanent state of anxiety for New Yorkers, many of whom have shared this with me, especially undocumented New Yorkers, of whenever they leave their home. And I want to let them know that they have a mayor, they have a city hall, they have a DOE that has their back. Because no matter how many words come before the final two, all of the descriptions end with New Yorker. And that's who they are. That's what they deserve, an administration that sees them for that.
And Mayor, if I may add,
Please.
We have been very intentional on hosting sessions, Know Your Rights sessions with our internal partners to get that very word out. And so we've been doing that intentionally with our community-based organization partners, our family child care homes, because we know those particularly are sensitive areas. And so we've been doing that again, and we are going to continue to get the word out, creating an environment where we're not waiting for people to come to us for information, but we're going to them.
And I think we also want to use the opportunities we have at City Hall to bring New Yorkers out of the shadows, to be proud of that immigrant heritage. I'll give you one example. We recently had the Africa Cup of Nations, a continental soccer tournament that takes place on a regular basis, and the final was Morocco versus Senegal. Now, typically, that's a game that some New Yorkers would watch maybe at a restaurant of one of the host nations' same origin, or a friend's home, or their own. We also wanted to make this a moment where New Yorkers could feel that their city was proud of them, that their city was wrapping their arms around them. So we transformed Surrogates Court into a watch party. We had hundreds of New Yorkers whose origins spanned Morocco, Senegal, across the African continent, and asked them to come and enjoy with us. And I think that especially with, 5 months until the World Cup, the most watched sporting event in the entire world, we want to make New Yorkers feel and know that we are proud of them and their heritage, and that they shouldn't feel that they are those things in spite of being New York, that actually their identities are all intertwined as one.
Thank you. Vernon, do you have a question?
Yes, Vernon Vergerie from the Black Star News.
Yes,
Mayor, I think you touched on it, but I just wanted to let you expound on it and your staff more. I think the issue is about engagement. How do we really get the information out to the communities so that they don't have fears, they don't have confusions, but we break it down and make it plain to them so they understand?
I think it's a great point. I went to a childcare center in Cypress Hills, and I sat with a navigator and a mother and her young daughter as she was looking to sign up for a site for 3K or pre-K. And just in that moment, I saw how one woman was demystifying the process for another, how how a New Yorker could help a New Yorker in just navigating through a portion of a bureaucracy that often feels out of reach for too many who call the city home. So we want to, part of the intent here is how do we get the word out in the through the very kinds of institutions that city government often overlooks, often undervalues, and yet we know that you are the outlets New Yorkers turn to, right? And I will also tell you that, you know, when I am walking through Astoria, the neighborhood that I used to call home, and I would walk past a small business and I would see the TV on, it would be Time TV that was playing. It would be so much of the very kinds of ethnic and community media that we don't think about or hear about. And so to me, we have to have not just an all of government approach, but an all of outreach approach. Every potential media outlet, we want to talk to New Yorkers through social media. We want to talk to them through posters. We want to talk to them through street teams. We want to talk to them at every occasion. And that's why I think we go back to GOTC, Get Out the Childcare. As we get closer to February 27th, every day, every event, it's an opportunity for me to go up to a New Yorker and say, it's nice to meet you. I'm the mayor, myschools.nyc. Go to myschools.nyc. Either you can find the 11 different welcome centers, you can apply online in 13 different languages, or here's a phone number where you can actually make that call on your own. Because what we don't want is on February 28th, someone says, I wish I had known. Our job is so that everybody knows, and then everybody makes their decision based on what they know. But for too long, there have been programs in our city that the city has funded and has put forward that the very people that are intended to be served by it have never even heard of it.
Julie, I think you had a question.
So really appreciate Mayor invite us. I'm Julie Wang from Chinese and English newspaper, Vision Times and Digital. And I have a question to you, Mayor, if you have a specific plan to, improve this awareness for this, campaign, and especially for Chinese market, Chinese community.
Absolutely. I would say that today is one example of the kind of outreach that we are going to be doing. We are not going to be satisfied with any one thing. We have to continue to make the case to New Yorkers. I think for a long time, government has waited for New Yorkers to find us. Our job is to find them. It's to meet them in their lives, make the case to them. We're having a snowstorm this weekend. We're expecting between, at least 9 inches at this point, could go beyond a foot. I'm telling you this, that since this morning, since yesterday, the days before, and in the days after this, I'm going to take every opportunity to reach out to New Yorkers to tell them of that. We have to take the same approach with childcare. It has to be just as easy to find out about these opportunities. And I think one thing that has been incredibly helpful to me in the past, and I know will continue to be in the future, is how do we find the trusted validators in every community? Because for many New Yorkers, they may not look to the mayor as somebody that they trust or know. They may not look to DOE as someone that they trust or know, but they may look to your news outlet. They may look to a specific community-based organization. They may look to a specific elected official in that neighborhood. And so that's what we are also looking for, these kinds of partnerships with anyone that we can find who can communicate this out or to a broader audience, because it can't just be that we post a video on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and Blue Sky and we say, well, we did the job. The question should be, well, how are we getting the word out on WeChat? How are we getting the word out to every New Yorker, no matter what social media platform they're using? That's what we're going to keep asking ourselves. I don't know if you'd like to add.
No, I think that's precisely right, Mayor. I think we have to go beyond, just to the Mayor's point, beyond digital and print, right? It's also getting people in communities. And so some of the work that Trivanda and I are working closely together on is actually sending people into, transitional housing to speak to families, not just in the now, but their future and prospective needs, right? It's, again, meeting families where they are and centering parent choice and need. And so we look to you to help iterate on that process. And so as you are hearing things in community on ways we can improve the way that we are getting the word out, please reach out to New York City Public Schools. We welcome it.
I think we have time for one more question. Sir, you had a question?
Good
Good evening, Mayor, and to all my colleagues here. What you've been saying all along, and we are here to help you. That's our first duty. So you send us generally press releases. Can you also send us audio-visual messages which we can play on television and audio, both radio? So this way people who can't read, at least they can hear it out or see it while they watch it the TV. I'm very happy to support it pro bono. There's no conditions involved.
Absolutely. We can start to send out audio and video. The communications team is here. And I think it's to your point. We want to reach everyone. We do not want to create a threshold where they have to be able to read, where they have to be able to know of a program. And what we want is any New Yorker anywhere that they know about this. And I think what I would also just encourage everyone to understand is these are their programs. This is their city. This was meant for them. Sometimes, especially New Yorkers who have most recently arrived here, are made to feel as if they are not the audience for this. If you call this city home, this is childcare for your children. It's as simple as that. And now we want to make that as simple as we can to New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Will you form the ethnic media like before, or ethnic media, section in Mayor Office, Press Office? They have an ethnic media, section in Press Office.
In room 9?
Yes.
And what's your question?
My question is it's going to remain a ethnic, media department, or?
It continues to be very important to us to make sure that we're actually reaching every New Yorker. So we will follow up whether it's on the question of the composition of room 9 or generally how we can bring ethnic media. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.